Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is the third day of the new year, 2021. I hope you are all doing well and keeping safe. It's really, really important. Most of you know that I am currently under house arrest in the United Kingdom, and the whole thing is a mess right now. It's unbelievable. My rival, Boris Johnson, was interviewed earlier on today. Even I don't want to talk about him, honestly. I genuinely don't want to talk about politics. They have no idea what they're doing. But one of the things I suggested earlier on this morning on Twitter, for those who are my listeners, and I'm sure it's the same all over the United Kingdom, haven't you noticed how democracy, they split themselves into groups? They're either left wing or right wing. I'm not sure if it's the same in Australia, but they're left wing or right wing. What I have suggested is that, look, COVID doesn't care whether you're left wing, right wing, whether you're Labour or Conservative, it kills everybody. So why don't you form a government of national unity? Bring these people together, because that is the only way you're going to find some solutions. I'm still waiting for the British government to respond to that, but I'm sure they wouldn't want to listen to a dictator. It gives me great pleasure to introduce you to my next guest. This is episode 23 of my podcast. I know this young man. He's a nephew, but a comedy nephew rather than a real nephew. His name is Joe White. And I always thought his name was really Joe White until I did some background. Of course, because I remember when I met him many years ago, I was wondering, why would he call himself Joe White and not Joe Black? Anyway, 2 years in a row, Fringe World Festival Best Comedy Award winning comedian Joe White, formerly known as Tilanhum Halihu. Now you can understand why he called his name Joe White. Very difficult to pronounce. He is one of 6 siblings born to Ethiopian parents, Yazina and Mulu. Amidst love, heartbreak, failure, and success, Joe has always tried to find the upside in life. And this has been his inspiration for pursuing comedy. So he is an Ethiopian comedian. Some say he's Trevor Noah of Australia, but I think he should be Trevor Noah of Ethiopia rather than of Australia. He has experienced many hardships in life, even it doesn't show on his face, for those of you who will watch the YouTube video. And he has taught him the value of laughter in life. Now his passion is to make others laugh too. Joe's career started with the launch of his solo show, Ethiopian and Not Hungry. And you know what is really interesting about this is because he used to be a refugee. Now this guy is so fat in Australia, it's unbelievable. He has shows, attracted hundreds of people, and has already won following awards. So many awards, I can't even mention them all. Perth Fringe World Festival 2020, Perth Fringe Western Festival 2019, Mandurah Crabfest comedy. It's a long history for someone so young and a refugee doing very well. Yeah, bringing diversity into Australia. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to my nephew, my comedy nephew. He calls me uncle, and I have to say this, I hope people will not be offended. He is, I've had how many guests now? 22 guests. And he's the most ugliest guest I am interviewing right now. So for those of you who don't like ugly people, if you don't like ugly people, then you don't need to watch the YouTube version of this podcast. In fact, I have to say this, he had no idea that he was going to be on my podcast because he was out on a date. And I told him to suspend the date, and I want him to be on my podcast straight away. So with no further ado, Joe White, how are you?
Oh my God, what an introduction. First of all, it wasn't too long. And secondly, it was brutal. it was like mixed emotions I was going through. You were saying all these nice things. I'm like, yes. And then the ugliest guest I have ever interviewed. You are a dictator for sure.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. You look well. You no longer look like a refugee, which is good news. Praise the Lord. But it's quite disappointing that when I look at your background, there is nothing of me, no posters of me on your walls, and you have the audacity to
There is.
criticize. You have the audacity to criticize the fact that I introduced you and it was too long. Who the hell do you think you are?
Oh.
Look, you are privileged. You are privileged to be on this podcast. It's the only podcast arranged and produced by a dictator in the world. So count yourself lucky.
I tried to put a poster review up, but my mom said, no ugly people in this house. We have enough. So I said, okay. So I couldn't.
Okay.
Yeah?
Out of respect for your mom, I'm not going to respond to that. I will respond to that off air. But how have you been?
I showed her your poster though, but she was asking me too many questions like, where did he get the ugly stick that beat the shit out of him? You know?
Really. Tell her it's part of the war. We've been defending Africa from the West. Yeah, making sure we don't have refugees anymore.
Yeah, she's a pleasant lady. She said if COVID had a body, it would look like you. And I was like, that's not nice.
Are you sure? You so I think what my listeners should be ready for is that apart from conducting an interview with Joe White, this refugee boy, is that there will be some roasting on both sides. It's obvious that this is what this interview is.
Started it.
No, I didn't start it. I just spoke the truth.
Did.
I spoke the truth.
You roasted me first. Hey, as soon as you open the doors, it's all go. Okay?
You're not
coming to Australia because I'm gonna register you after this chat.
Yeah, we will talk about Australia. We will talk. That's going to be our main subject of discussion. So, Joe, on a serious note, how have you been, and how have you been coping since the lockdown? I can see that you before the lockdown you were just all over the world touring, doing shows, and doing lots of good things. How have you been coping?
Yeah, good. I obviously hasn't always been good, but because I was on a bit of a high, when I first before the lockdown, a lot of comedians were on this high of doing so well and having big plans. And then when COVID happened, we were the first to go. Entertainment, live entertainment was gone, plans cancelled. And so I went from doing, shows and touring to no shows and indoors. And we had the festival, what was about to happen, the Melbourne International Comedy Festival. And 2 weeks before the festival, we were all on edge because there were little signs that it was going to be cancelled. So everybody was just like biting their fingers because we paid for marketing and marketing's already gone out. So you're not going to get your money back. So everyone's just biting their fingers going, is it going to get cancelled? Is it not? And then we got an email saying the festival's cancelled. So that was the first time ever, I think, that it's been cancelled. So that in itself was a bit scary for live entertainment because we didn't know if we were going to come back to performing again. We're just hoping, and that's what kept us going. So that was very sad. I made mates around me as well. One of my mates had a 400-seater that he sold out and announced a second show, and that was going to be his first special filming. And that got cancelled. So now he's doing a different job outside comedy to try and meet ends. And then there was a window of opportunity to get out of Melbourne because I was in Melbourne, but my mom and my family's in Perth, Australia. So Melbourne, Australia, Perth, Australia. So Melbourne is East Coast, Perth is West Coast. Mm-hmm. And Perth is handling COVID possibly the best in the world. So we still have live entertainment. Clubs are open. It's just no mask. It's just social distance. Everyone just there 1.5 meters. But no one really follows the rules. Anyways, in Perth, there's no cases. The only cases are in isolation. So in the world, Perth is handling Corona really well because we're so isolated. Even Corona is just like, nah, it's too far, And there's not much to do here. So even Corona is like, nah, that place is boring. So it's beautiful for us. And Fringe is about to come back here as well. So that's the first festival in the world to come back, the Perth Fringe World Festival.
Wow.
Which is in 2 weeks.
Okay.
So I'm doing well. I'm back to being happy and buzzing again, and I'm back at home with mum as well. So get to see her while I'm in Perth.
Okay. So you're in Perth at the moment, and that's where COVID is being handled better. Couple of questions for you. So you moved from Ethiopia to Australia, didn't you?
Sorry, I moved from
Ethiopia to Australia. Is that correct?
No. So Ethiopia, my parents fled Ethiopia to Sudan.
Okay.
And then I was born in Sudan, and then we migrated from Sudan to Perth, Australia.
Okay. Why Australia? Did you have a choice?
There's so many stories where people, I don't know where this information is coming from. I was on radio once and this guy goes, this guy is from a refugee camp in Ethiopia. And I was like, I've never been in a refugee camp. I've never been to Ethiopia. And I feel bad correcting him because he's telling him he hasn't done his research, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like trying to find the most middle ground,
Okay.
So yeah, why Perth, Australia? I don't think we had an option, You just get a visa to get out. And we took it and we didn't know what to expect, but we knew it was going to be better than our situation in Sudan. And we had many other visas given to us. Like we were approved, sorry, not given to us. We were approved for many other visas, maybe 6 times or something. But we never got it. We always got told we were declined. But the reason what was happening is because there's a lot of corruption in Sudan at the time I was there. And so people would actually, once you get approved, then what happens is people would sell your visa to someone who has more money. And that person would use your details to flee to other countries outside Sudan. So we believe we had approval visa to go to Holland, Poland, bloody America, Canada. But we never got it. And single mom, 6 kids. So in a patriarchal society, so she was very vulnerable. So we, got bullied by people who were considered to be rich. And then, after crying, breaking down, the right person saw her, asked her what was the issue. She explained what she thinks is happening. And the person took our file that got declined and personally made sure that it was assessed. And an answer was given. We went in for an interview, and then they finally said, yes, you can go through. And at that time, it was Perth, Australia that had accepted us. So that's really why we ended up in Perth, Australia.
Excellent. So, yeah, and you said Perth. Why is Perth being treated differently to all the other cities in terms of the response to COVID?
I think it was we're just isolated. We're so far away. The West Coast is so far away. It's like, so to go from Melbourne to Sydney and Adelaide and Brisbane and Queensland, which is all the other capital cities of Australia, Canberra, right? It's only like an hour flight, 2-hour flight.
Yeah.
Where to go from any of those to Perth, you're looking at a 4-hour, 4.5-hour flight. So we're isolated. That's why.
Okay.
And also we shut borders. The premier here, Mark McGowan, he shut the borders. He was just a hero. Now it's like, women find him very. He's the man of the hour. Let's just say that.
So he's the governor of. So they have governors in the respective
premier,
regions.
I think.
A premier. Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
So he's people see him. He's a celebrity in Perth now. People see him, take pictures with him. I'm telling you.
Wow.
Yeah, all because of the way he handled COVID. He's like a celebrity now.
So there's no COVID at all whatsoever.
There's none, no cases. We haven't had cases for maybe like nearly 5 months now.
Wow. So he could end up running for premiership of Australia then.
Well, he's a premier already. He can run for prime minister.
Okay, prime minister. Okay.
If he can run on the basis that he knows how to handle situations and use COVID, I guess, as an excuse. Yeah. But if you look at Melbourne one, when I was in Melbourne, I was under the premier then. His name was Dan Andrews, and he was handling it horrendously bad, like very, very bad, to the point where it just felt like a dad was telling you off. He was just very hard. Stay home. You gotta listen. He's just very upset, very aggressive. And then everybody's like, yeah, we need that approach. Good on you. We need that hard stand. But we weren't seeing the results because we still have cases and people still weren't able to see their loved ones or go to funerals or go to work. Businesses were shutting. Suicide rate was high, right? So, and then he would come on and he would still be the same character and everyone was just like, stop yelling at us. We're trying. So we went from, to stop yelling at us.
So he was trying to be a dictator, only he didn't know how to do it.
He was taking your job.
He was trying
to take your job.
But I was reading somewhere.
But without that silly hat,
Without that silly hat. Continue the roasting, continue. I was reading somewhere that the current prime minister actually was on Twitter he's not very popular at the moment because people think he's a dictator as well, or behaves like one.
Yeah, well, I think where his downfall began was we had a bushfire. And Scott Morrison is his name.
Yeah,
We had a bushfire, and it was possibly the worst I think Australia's ever had. And we had like nearly 500,000 animals dead. And so many people, homes got burnt, and you see this horrendous images of people hiding in the water in the beaches to try and avoid the smoke, and it's just the clouds are red. It just looked like an inferno. And the fireys were saying they weren't getting enough support from the government to fight it. And so everyone's like waiting for a statement, but then a statement came in, I think, from the Prime Minister office of Scott Morrison, and apparently he was on holiday. But he didn't tell anyone. He snuck away to Hawaii, I think it was. And then a picture surfaced of him wearing a Hawaiian shirt with a big smile and someone putting the roses on him. So everyone, yeah, Aussies are like that, man. Like, they're nice to you, but then when it's time to go in on you because you've done the wrong thing, they don't hold back. So even they wouldn't shake his hand on TV. He was doing, he came back, he said sorry, and he went out to see the fireys. And there's a video of him trying to shake one of the fireys' hands, and the old guy's just looking at him like, I'm not scared to lose my job kind of look. Refused to shake his hand. So funny.
How are you finding life in, because I'm going to talk to you, I'm going to ask you questions about comedy as well, but how did you make that transition from coming from Sudan to, how have you found life in Australia?
Oh, look, I definitely can't complain, man. I don't think anyone in my family can complain about life in Australia. You know, it's not like we were living like the best life in Sudan. It was literally the worst life ever. And to give you like a quick insight, there was a period where we were homeless for almost 2 years. The only way we could eat was to go through bins or to beg and get whatever crumbs or change people give us, put it together, and go get some food, I guess, to try and sort of feed us for the day. And then the next day, same thing. At night, mum would play security. So she would try to make sure grown men don't try to kidnap us, rape us, or traffic us into, you know, whatever, like child soldier or sex industry or, you know, sell us or anything like that. So she would play security. And again, keep in mind, it's a woman in a patriarchal society. So she was also at risk herself, right? So she didn't know what to do. And some nights while she falls asleep, you know, things will happen. Like my brother would walk away, or we would wake up screaming because some guy's trying to take my sister.
Wow.
And so that was the fear at night going to bed. So she would try to stay awake most nights, but obviously impossible. So what she did was she got like a rope and some clothes and stuff, and she would tie everyone to herself. So she would tie us by the leg, by the hand, by the, you know, just by our limbs to her, so that whenever someone tried to take us in the middle of the night, it will sort of pull her and she'll wake up. And that was, you know, the alarm security. So we've gone from that type of security to now in Australia where we're in our room and we just walk up to the door and go beep, 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 and no one can touch us, you know? And we can sleep comfortably. You know So we can't really complain. How can you complain?
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And I think quite a number of people need to understand and hear that story, because even if they're not refugees, I have lots of examples of people who've come from Africa who had a difficult life and have arrived in the West. And despite, so for example, a lot of people complain about the Nigerian not the Nigerian Health Service, the National Health Service, which is a health service in the United Kingdom. And it's free, but people still complain about it. And if you've come from a country where you don't have free health service, it's a joy to have one as an example.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, because when we, just to give you a quick idea, so when we came here to Australia, they've got a welfare system here, and the welfare system helps single mums. So it gives you, every fortnight, it gives you money. Depending on the number of kids you have, it gives you like maybe $100 and something per kid, right? So when we came, we didn't have that in Sudan. Remember, we had to beg, we had to go through bins, we had to just hope for the best. So we come here and mom's a single mom and she's got 6 kids. So they're giving her like maybe, you know, $600 plus a fortnight, right? in some places in Africa, $100 a month is what doctors and teachers bloody make.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So she's getting $600 plus a fortnight, but she didn't know what it was for. And we went to the welfare office, and they're like, "Oh, here's $600," and she's like, "Ask them what it's for." And I asked what it's for, and they said, "Oh, it's for the children." And my mom was like, "No, the children are not for sale." Right? She thought this money was to take us away. And she was like, well, she honestly thought she was something was so fishy, and so that's just like, so we're always grateful to be here. I just wanted to share that before I interrupted you. Sorry.
No, that's fine. But please take your time, because I've got time to listen to your story. Why comedy? Tell me about how comedy began and why comedy.
Oh man, it's actually like a really, what's the word I'm looking for? Like really just weird. So I was working a normal job, right? So I was a banker for Bank West, which is a bank here, local bank. And I worked my way up within 3 years. And my position was, when I left, so I went from personal relationship manager to business home lending manager. So I write loans, home loans for small businesses on behalf of the bank. And my package was close to 80K a year. But if you get bonuses and stuff, it can push you over 100K a year. So it was a good job. And you had to wear a suit. You get, like if you even don't have your tie, right, you get sent home, or you have to answer why you don't have a tie on. So they're very strict like that. And so I was doing that. And then I had a relationship breakdown at the time. So I was with this girl for 10 years. And then it ended. We were engaged to be married. And that really devastated, because I was like, yo, this is my ride or die. This is my Bonnie and Clyde, you name it, Obonjo. This is like your 7 beautiful wife. They're never going to leave your side. You know, yeah, I had that mentality. She's never going to leave my side. And then when she did, my mindset was not in line with the norm anymore. You know, there was all this commotion, and I was trying to define my true self. And so when I went to the bank, you know, it required you mentally to fully be present, because if you make any mistakes, it's like a 20K lawsuit that would hit you and hit the bank, right? So you had to mentally be there. And so I was dealing with the breakup in my head. I had a house at the time, and that was going to shit. So I ended up losing that. I was in debt from that. And I was just didn't know what was going on, but I was trying to stay sort of composed and zen. Then I was on YouTube, literally watching like 8 hours of motivational stuff just to stay with it, you know? And I was listening to a lot of Les Brown and all that. And so that was keeping me sort of sane, someone constantly in my ear just talking positivity. Because, you know, when it's just you and yourself and you're going through shit, you're not going to win with yourself in your head. It's going to be negative 80% of the time. So to sort of position myself in a strategical way, I had like motivational stuff playing. And then my twin sister called me, and she's crying, and she's like, I need you to come over now. And I went to her house, and she goes, you're not going to believe what happened to me. I went and saw a psychic lady in the market, and I was like, oh, you know, psychics. I was like, oh yeah, what happened? And she said she spoke some truth to her. She told her about her 2 best friends that she had that who are young Ethiopian ladies, 25, 27, sisters, just graduated. This is probably about 10 years ago in Perth, Australia. They graduated with their degrees, went back home to Ethiopia to visit their family. While on a tour bus of like 50 tourists traveling, the bus plummets 80 meters or over 100 meters, and it bursts into flame, and everyone dies. So her 2 best friends end up dying. And so the conversation my sister had with them, the psychic lady was telling her stuff that only she should know. Like my sister should know, because the psychic lady wasn't there. So that freaked her out. And so she cried, got emotional, and went home and called me. And then as a joke, she goes to me, you should go. And let's see what she says about you, because you've had this massive shift in your life. And at the time, President Obonjo, the ugliest dictator I've ever known. At the time, stay with me.
I'm listening. I'll come back to you on ugliest dictator.
I'm gonna screenshot this because no one's gonna believe me how ugly you are when I get off.
You're welcome to screenshot it and tell the world.
My mom's asleep, and I'm gonna put it next to her. She's gonna think she's having a nightmare when I show her.
If this is what ugly looks like as a dictator, look. You want to compare?
Be like,
you want to compare me to Saddam Hussein? Huh? Do you want to compare? Well, go on.
Yeah. So, she goes, you should go and see what she will say about you. And I went because I was just at the time just looking for an answer, whatever, you know. And we're sitting there, and she says some things about me again. No one should know except me and that person that I was talking to at the time. And so I started to get alarm bells. I'm like, holy shit, maybe this woman actually knows things. You know what I mean? And so I said, oh yeah, what more can you tell me about my purpose in life, my work, you know, because we need to find our purpose. And she said, she did this weird looking around over my shoulders, assessing, you know, and then she goes to me, are you a rapper? And I said, are you stereotyping, right? Honest conversation. And she just giggled and she said, no. I said, no, I'm not a rapper. And then she goes, are you a public speaker? I said, no, I'm not a public speaker. I'm a banker. And then she laughed and she said, you don't like that job. It's just a position of power and that's what you like. So long story short, she said, what I see you doing is I don't know what it is, but it's on stage. You're speaking to people and the energy is beautiful. So you're like, you know, when you walk in and you're high-fiving people, that's the energy that I see. It's good energy. I can see you on stage. So not off stage, on stage. So, and that's your purpose and you're going to do well in it, but you need to give it a go. And then I was just like, well, I don't know what it is, but she's like, you need to find it. That's what your purpose is. It's not banking. And so I was like, interesting. Okay. And so we wrapping it up. And before I left, I was like, oh, a month ago, I actually wrote like one page of comedy stories about my family. And I thought maybe I should try comedy because my friends are always like, you should try comedy. And part of motivational speaking is telling me to try everything, actively look for my purpose, right? And not let fear get in the way. So to be true to that, I mentioned to her about the one page that I wrote and she's like, you have to do it. That's your calling. And I was like, all right, no worries, lady. In my head, I'm like, crazy lady, right? But while I was leaving, she even messaged me. She's like, you must do it. And I'm like, wow, she's really persistent. She believes in me. I should just give it a go and see what it's like. And I did. And to applause break in my first 5 minutes, I felt the most alive I've ever felt in my whole life, right? And you know, when my ex-fiance, when we broke up, right, that was worse than Africa, the pain that I felt, right? People going, how can it be worse than Africa, dude? It's just a heartbreak. You can just go be with another person. You'll fall in love again, right? But it didn't feel that way because I'll tell you why. Africa was a collective suffering with my brothers, my mom, and my sisters. The breakup was just me and this person that I put so much of myself onto, like with them. When they were gone, I was like naked pretty much, right? So when I found comedy, it was like my life made sense again. And on the way home after that first gig, man, I was crying. I was punching the horn. I was like, yes, I found my purpose. I'm ready to do an arena now.
Already. So a psychic.
I love it.
A psychic created an ugly comedian. Well, you know, fantastic, you know? Yeah.
I told my mom, she's like, if you're going to tell me about psychics, you need to leave my house right now. I was like, I was just joking. There's no psychic. God came into my dreams in my sleep, mom. And he said, yo, you funny. You should do comedy. And I was like, all right, thanks, God. Yeah. I don't know why you're white, Jesus, but thank you. And then I went. That's what I tell my mom.
Yeah. So that happened. So what then happened next? Because obviously you said your first gig, applause break, arena. I'm sure you've had experiences of dying on stage, things not happening.
Oh yeah, like not my first gig, but I'm 5 years in now, and yeah, I've had some rough gigs, you know. One thing I like to do is throw myself in the deep end. And just see what happens. You know? Like I find myself to learn quicker when I do that. So I've done that just over and over and over, and I still do it. Now I've slowed down a little bit, but I always consciously take time out to go, okay, let me assess when and how since the last time I threw myself in the deep end. And if I can't find it in my head, I go and do it, right? So one time, the worst bomb I think I've had that I struggle to forget, right? So it was in Adelaide. It was Fringe Festival. I did well, and then the promoter had another show upstairs, but it wasn't a comedy show. It was like a Motown singer. And he goes, Joe, why don't you go upstairs and just do 10 more minutes, warm the crowd up, and then the singer will come in. I was like, yeah, sure. I went upstairs, confident, buzzing from that gig, and it was just a sea of like people 50 and above, all looked like they had money to buy and sell me 3 times at least, right? So I'm like, all right. So I'm on stage, and I'm doing my bit, you know, talking about my mom. I'm talking about like refugees. I'm talking about Australia. And the whole time they're just silent. They're just looking at me, and all I can hear is, ooh, that poor man. Like that's all I could hear. And then there was one lady in like 60, 70 people, one lady in the front, and she's like having the best time, right? And you could hear her laughing, just her, right? And her head's going back, and she's laughing. And I'm like, I'm glad you're here. But I just couldn't work out why the rest weren't feeling me. And then when I went backstage, she came backstage. And I'm like, I don't know what happened. She was like, I thought you were funny, honey. And she gave me a hug and stuff. And I've never forgotten that gig. That's the worst bomb I've had.
So do you miss your old life in terms of the banking?
Definitely not.
Okay.
Definitely not. Yeah. There was the security that comes with fortnightly payments. You know what I mean? With comedy, it's touch and go, man. It's like you're constantly on especially at the early stages, constantly, when am I going to get my next, or something better happen quickly where I have some income, you know? Because when I left banking, I did have a little bit of saving that I was able to continue off and do things with it. But you know, as it goes down, you're like, oh shit, you know, something better come my way. Because in the early stages, it was just a lot of spending, a lot of learning, a lot of building your brand. And so I didn't have time to worry about poverty. And again, you know, I come from poverty, so I wasn't really that worried to spend and go in hard. And yeah, I've just made some crazy decisions in the early stages that have financially, but also comedically, that have put me now in a position where it's amazing. You know, I could sit on a table with Maz Jobrani, Max Amini, and a couple of LA comics, and it's like they're my mates, you know. And I would never have met them if I hadn't believed and invested in myself and backed myself up financially.
Yeah, that's a good point for up and coming comedians. So, are you the only refugee, ugly Ethiopian Australian comic?
No, there's 3 of us.
Okay, because you know, before I
I'm
said
the only handsome one, right?
well, you can call yourself that. I wouldn't. I before I started doing some research on you, I always saw you as a Facebook comedian. You know, there's some Facebook comedians who don't really perform, but it's just full photoshops of themselves on a large stage with an audience.
You're not the only one. Don't worry. There is a line of comedians. You should see my blocked list. Comedians I've blocked who are toxic. There's quite a few.
Yeah.
That's why when you said comedians rule the world, I was like, get out of here.
Yeah, I know.
I'd rather COVID, you know?
I have COVID. Tell me about, because one of the things I picked up, as you know, I'm currently based in the United Kingdom. After discovering comedy, I decided to stay after a state visit. And I've noticed that quite a number of Australian comics come to the UK to perform and even stay. Why is that? What's the Australian? I know you've got several Fringe festivals that take place. Before the pandemic, obviously, what's the state of the comedy industry? How easy is it? How big is it? And I don't think it's that big, is it?
It's definitely not big compared to the UK and America. And that's one of the main reasons why Australian comics would head over to the UK or America. Because we believe that, you know, if you want to do arenas and stuff, that's or if you want to make it big in terms of being on movies, crossing paths with the world's elite, it's hard to do it from Australia. You got to go do it from overseas. And plus, in Australia, we feed off America and the UK, so mainly America. So if you get big overseas, you're instantly big in Australia anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's why we go. But it's not because, well, I guess, yeah, it's because Australian comedy is, there's only so high you can go. And I noticed this with Canada as well. There's only so high you can go before you have to go to America. So with Australia, it's like there's only so high you can go before you have to go to the UK or America.
Okay. So are you there yet? Do you see yourself coming to the UK? Even though we don't
definitely
even though we don't grant refugee status, but are you?
You mentioned refugee, right? So I did a gig and I was emceeing it, and the headliner was there. I didn't know who he was. Old fella from like back in maybe 30 years. He's been doing comedy, and he comes over and he goes, "Wow, young man is good. Bloody refugee, come here and take my job." So I was like, "Oh, it's good play." Yeah. So that refugee quote does come up quite a lot. I do see myself coming to the UK. I've already. So my plan is to go from Australia to Canada to America to the UK. So I went to Canada in 2017, did a 6-month tour there, and it went great. And for me personally, it was an indication that I would do well in America if I was to go there as well. So my plan is Australia, Canada, America, and then the UK. So I want to go to America. I'm supposed to go to America this year, last year, but COVID happened. So hopefully I can go toward the end of this year. If not, then hopefully next year. But America and then the UK.
Good.
That's my strategy.
That's your strategy, not Africa, not Ethiopia.
Oh, well, you know what? Last night I had to catch up with a friend, and he's like, "You need to go to Africa. There's so much money to be made there." And I'm like, "What kind of money?" And he spoke of so much corruption, and I was like, "Well."
No, but on a serious note, on a serious note, I can speak about the Nigerian market. It's really, really grown. It's you can make money in the Nigerian market. You got the right connections and the right people. So I think
you got to have the right connections.
Yeah, you got to have the right connections. But for comics like us who are based abroad, we should not neglect Africa. Africa is a big. I made some connections with Tenjiwe. You must know her from South Africa.
Oh, Tenjiwe.
Yeah. She was telling me about the South African market. So, especially Ethiopia. I'm sure I would almost describe Ethiopia like if it had oil, it would be able to go in. There's no oil there at the moment, but if comedy was oil, that is a big market, especially if you can speak the language.
Ethiopia, they'll come. The people will come. If you advertise as a diaspora Ethiopian coming back to perform, they'll just come to see you perform in English. They want to know what it sounds like. So I definitely have Ethiopia in mind. But Uganda, I've been hearing a lot about. Have you been there?
No. I can understand why you feel that I'm from Uganda, and let me just explain. I'm half Nigerian, half Ugandan. My late father.
You're half Ugandan?
Yeah, my late father. Yeah.
You're not full Nigerian?
No. My late father, Idi Amin Dada, had an affair with a Nigerian woman, and that's how I got created.
What?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, but not many people know this. And I've kept it. I don't know why I revealed it now, but not many people know this.
Is it true?
Yeah.
Or is this like a joke?
It's true.
Really?
Yeah. My father my late father had an affair with a Nigerian woman.
Did the doctor drop you on your head when you came out?
No.
Which will explain why we need to put a bag on your head.
No, I look better. Look, come on. I look better than my father.
Wow, look at you. The glasses.
I look better than my father.
You took them off and you look like $1 million. Just the glasses. Never wear them again. Take off the hat. Let's see what it looks like without the hat.
No. Let's go back to our discussion.
This could be a modeling career if you take off the hat and you look like Beyonce. Also, you go from Jay-Z to Beyonce. That's a huge
I'm not sure why I revealed that actually, but it's okay.
Why are you blinking your eyes now? You think you're all cute and shit. Calm down.
That's because I can't see without the glasses. So that's
We need to put the rainbow flag behind you after this behavior.
what is the rainbow flag? I don't know. Moving on. Focusing on comedy. Focusing on comedy. There are quite a number of British comics who come to Australia, especially during those Fringe festivals. And it was, you and I had discussions, and it's thanks for trying to encourage me to come. And then COVID arrived. I know the
If you
likes of
do free accommodation.
Stephen K. Amos is. Do you know Stephen K. Amos?
Yeah, I've met him.
Okay.
I was gonna, because I did promise you free accommodation if you came down. But we hadn't done live chat before. This is the first time. So after I've seen your face, I don't know if we're gonna do free accommodation. Our rent will go up. The owner will look at you and be like, Jesus Christ.
But I would say that it won't be free accommodation. I will be, if I got my act together and my people make connections with the Australian Prime Minister, I will be coming as on a state visit to do comedy. Why would I want to stay with a refugee? Why would I want to stay
I'll be trying to stay with you. I'll be begging you to colonize me. Please, let me stay with you. Take over.
But how do you think? So the point I was making is that British comedians have come to the festivals and do very, very well. I know that Stephen K. Amos is very popular there. How do you think they will react to my comedy as a comedy dictator?
Here in Australia?
Yeah.
Man, just the fact that you are African on stage, their mind will blow. It will be blown. And
Really?
the fact that you're wearing a costume,
no, excuse me.
That's a major.
Excuse me. I regard that as an insult to call it a costume. It's a uniform. It's the Laughter Republic uniform. So get it in your. It's not a costume. This is not a cabaret. It's not. This is a real.
Sorry, President.
Okay, go on.
So sorry, President. I thought you had a costume and a mask on. But
No costume, no mask. Well, go on.
How do you explain the face? Sorry.
Get used to my face, mate. Get used to my face.
And then the accent, the British accent.
Yeah.
Your jokes, I've heard some of your jokes. You would absolutely smash it here. Absolutely. You would sell out.
But would they be expecting, what's really interesting is I've only just started speaking this way, sounding very British since the lockdown, being under house arrest, because I watched so many British TV programs. So. But yeah, on a serious note, Australia is one market I genuinely want to come and perform and do those festivals. But
you would blow them away. They would not know what to expect.
I keep hearing horror stories about how people don't financially make enough. Even before the pandemic, they said the festivals were not the way they were in years, that people were not making money like they used to. Do you know?
It just depends. I don't find it like that, but maybe because I have a base in Perth at the Fringe. But it's not even that. I think it's just how much money. I sat down with one of the comics from the UK at one stage, and we were just talking, how sales were going. And, he asked me what I was doing that was working for me. And then I gave him the rundown of all the marketing that I paid for and the marketing that I'm doing. And I asked him if he's doing any of them. And he was just like, nah, he was just flyering. And then social media, that was his approach. And he had like under 10. And at the time I had over 100 coming. So, but those ticket sales cover the money I've spent on marketing. You know what I mean? So, but you got to take the risk. So you can't be scared. You got to take the risk. You got to, on top of paying for marketing, you got to also do the social media. You got to also do the flyering after gigs. You got to, hit the streets and flyer, and just constantly be active about your ticket sales. I check my ticket sales almost every day, to be honest. And I'm always doing something. So I've got publicists, I've got Fringe marketing that I've purchased, I've got social media stuff, I've got friends who help, I've got producers to help.
So you got a team. You got a team of people. You got a team of people.
Yeah, and you got to do it as a team. That's why it will succeed. By yourself, it's good luck, man.
Yeah, man. So because I've often felt that comedy, your comedy act has to be a brand. People have to see it as a brand. And I have to ask you, why Joe White? Why did you choose Joe White? Because you're definitely not white, and you're not a Joe.
Yeah. Look, that one is quite controversial, Joe White, especially amongst my African people.
Mm.
And some people, that they get worked up and they get political, and they're like, oh, you're trying to be white, you're not proud to be black, and and I don't obviously take offense to that. I try to explain if they have the level of mental maturity and they're actually genuinely interested in wanting to know why, then I try to have a chat and explain. But the reason why I did it is because when I was in school, when I first arrived here and I was in school, they asked me what my name was, and I said Telahun. That's my Ethiopian name, is Telahun, and you butchered it earlier, by the way.
Yeah, I'm a butcher.
Like
I'm a butcher. What do you expect? I butcher.
Yeah, true. True. Yeah.
And I'm not going to apologize for butchering your name.
No. If you did, you'd lose your presidency. So,
yeah, but go on.
So they couldn't pronounce it, and when I was playing soccer, they're like, "We can't pronounce your name, man. Can we give you another name?" I said, "Sure." And they said, "Can we call you Michael?" And my English was bad at the time, and I'm trying to like blend into this new society that I've just migrated to. So I said, no Michael, because I had a friend called Michael who I despised, right? So I'm like, no Michael. And then at the time, I was listening to the R&B singer Joe. I don't know if you have Joe in the UK.
Excuse me, that's very...
Joe the singer?
Joe who?
His name is just Joe. That's his R&B.
Yeah, I know Joe. I know Joe, the African American.
Yeah, the African American Joe. How cool is he?
No, he's cool, but you're not Joe.
Yeah, but I wanted to be Joe.
Okay, cool.
And so when they said, "What about Joe?" I was like, "Yo, I love Joe the singer. I like his whole style, his whole swagger. He's a ladies' man. He can sing." I was none of those, right? But I wanted to do that.
Yeah.
So
You're
I was
ugly.
like, Joe's like.
Go on. Ugly Joe. That's what you should call it. Ugly Joe.
Okay, so it was. So I liked Joe at the time, so I was like, "Yeah, call me Joe." So they started calling me Joe. And then when I went to school, the first day at school, it was a rough school as well. And again, I was trying to blend in and make friends and not get bullied. And they go, "What's your name?" And I said, Joe. And then they went, "Oh, okay, Joe." And you see the way when people ask an immigrant or a black person or a minority what their name is, the person's always like shoulders are stretching. They're just like getting ready for this aggressive, hard to pronounce name that they're going to sweat to pronounce.
Yeah.
So when I said Joe, I find that it disarmed that. They were a lot more receptive to me. And I was like, okay, cool. So I guess my name is Joe now, my nickname. And then I'd go to class and I'd go up to the teacher because I've already told everyone my name is Joe, right? So I don't want to be a liar in this brand new school of rough characters. So I'd go up to the teacher and I'd go, "Miss, I know that says Telahun, but it's actually pronounced Joe. So can you call me Joe?" And the teacher will obviously be like, "Okay, cool, I'll call you Joe." So I'll sit down, be like, "Joe," and I'll be like, "Present." And I did this like almost all the way to year 12, right? And then we had a relief teacher, and the relief teacher is trying to pronounce Telahun, and he's just doing a worse job than you, right? And it's just the worst job. So it's like Tila, Tilahu, Tilalu, all this, you name it. The teacher was doing it, and she was looking up every time as if she's like pronouncing it right. And I was a class clown then, and I didn't care what people thought of me after that. I was one of them anyways. And I just went present, and everybody was just like, like shocked that I wasn't Joe. And I was like, "Surprise, I'm an immigrant." It's not my fault they expected me to have such a name.
Yeah, your story reminds me of when I first started performing comedy 11 years ago. And I'll arrive in the green room, and the MC, obviously struggling to remember how to pronounce my name, will come to me three times. How do I call your name?
Mm.
President Obonjo, Obongo, Obonjo. Oh, can I just call you President? No, you have to call me President Obonjo. And he will still go on stage and call it the wrong way, President Obongo. And Obongo is a racist name, of course, they call Obama
Is it?
Obongo. Yeah, Obama,
Yeah.
Obongo. If you Google Obongo, Obama will come
Yeah.
up. So it's a racist term, Obongo, rather than Obonjo. And it took them a while before they could pronounce my name properly. It took them a while. It took them a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And
But
it's not hard, Obonjo, you know.
yeah, it
So that's
isn't.
where the name Joe came about. And so Joe was just my name in school. And then they would call my house and they'd be like, "Is Joe home?" And my mom would be like, "Wrong number." And she'd hang up, "Wrong number," you know. And then one day she just goes, "Who is Joe in this house?" And I was like, "Me." And then she just stopped belting me for changing my birth name.
Mhm,
But Joe was and they used to call me Joe Black in school as well because I'm black. And then
mhm,
Joe, they're like, "Oh, Joe Black," you know.
mhm,
So Joe was like my alter ego name.
mhm,
And when I went into comedy, I was Joe Halu because Halu was my real name, my last name.
mhm,
But it sounded like boring. It wasn't funny. It wasn't interesting. And
mhm,
if Kanye West can have a name, like why can't I have a nickname? Do you know what I mean? And because
mhm.
it's comedy, I
Yeah.
want it to be funny. You know,
Mhm,
if I went with Joe Black, which is what I wanted to, it's so predictable. Joe
mhm,
Black, oh yeah, we know
mhm,
why. You know, there's
mhm,
no reaction to it. So
mhm,
then my friend is like, "Dude, just go the opposite." And that's
mhm,
comedy. If the audience
mhm,
knows where you're going with the punchline, they
mhm,
don't find it funny.
mhm,
So I went with the opposite, Joe White. So when I used to come out, like they used to just laugh because I wasn't white and the name is Joe White.
mhm,
Do you know what I mean? It's so
mhm.
hacky now that we look back at it. But at the time, I was just like, "Oh, they're laughing without me saying a word. This is
Yeah,
great."
definitely.
That's
Definitely.
the strategy behind it, and it's just catchy. That's why it is nothing to do with racial anything. Oh, I guess in some way it does, but nothing to do with me not being proud of being an African man. You know, I know a lot about Africa, research,
Mhm. No, you don't
and
worry. You don't have to convince me. I see you. I see, a
I
refugee.
never convince ugly people, so don't worry.
But it's really
Never.
interesting. It's really interesting how I think for me it's really important that once you set your path in terms of what you want to call yourself, that you actually stick to it. So well done for sticking to it because the people can misread. Certainly when I saw that name Joe White, I wasn't thinking about it in terms of, oh, why is he calling himself Joe White? I just thought, wow, that is a clever brand name. That is just so clever that you read that name, so you start laughing basically because there's just something ridiculously funny about it. So that's the way I
Thanks, man.
that's the way I saw it.
The
So
most kindest thing a dictator has ever said to me.
well,
You
I'm a
better
bit.
come. You better end up with something horrible.
I'm
You
a
better
benevolent.
insult me quick.
I am a benevolent dictator. I'm a benevolent dictator. That's what it
You
is.
better insult my ancestors after that good
No, no,
time.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I wouldn't. So we're speaking about Australia, but part of what I do with this podcast is, and I know you've, in a way, almost criticized it about if comedians rule the world. And you're a comedian. If you were in a position to rule the world on any particular subject, be it COVID or maybe you were fortunate enough to be Prime Minister of Australia, what would you do differently compared to the current leader?
Um, I see when I am like I like to think I'm a nice guy. Do you know what I mean? So if I was to rule the world, I would I guess I would do nice things. Do you know what I mean? I would make sure everyone stays home, and I would give everyone money to stay home. Because right now that is the issue. You know, the issue is people can't stay home because they need to make money to pay the bills,
Hmm.
but they're forced to stay home because they've got COVID, or if they don't have it, they'll get it. They'll pass it on to the vulnerable. And
Hmm.
so they have to stay home.
Hmm.
It's in the best interest of society. However, if they stay home, they lose their family business, they get COVID, they'll end up killing themselves. right? Because they've lost everything. They've worked hard for everything that they're kept in their, like their forefathers have, passed on to them. And then imagine if the business been in your family for 100 years or 50 years, and you're the person that it perishes when you're in charge of it. So that burden is there, So I'd understand that side, and I'd give out money. So I guess the country would be broke if COVID doesn't go away, because I'll be going, oh, stay home, guys. Here you go. Take this, take that.
So are you telling me that the current government, because in the UK, the government has been giving people money to stay, not necessarily to stay at home, but it's called furlough. So if you are self-employed or if you can't go in and work, there is some kind of payment being made to people. You're saying that's not happening in Australia at the moment?
It is happening, but not enough, Obonjo.
Okay.
It's only enough if you're unemployed previously, and now you're getting some type of money. So you're like, oh, cool, free money.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But if small businesses have been impacted the most, and hard, and so those businesses are not getting enough.
Okay.
Their income has been, slashed from like bloody maybe, I think JobKeeper here is about $1,700 a fortnight, or $1,750 or $1,800 a fortnight, where that business would have made bloody, $10,000 or more a fortnight, even triple, quadruple that. So that is a big loss.
Yeah. Okay.
So I would make sure they get enough money.
Okay.
And that's why we will go broke as a country.
Okay. Okay. So that is almost the end of a conversation, our interview, on the basis that you've gone past. You set yourself a record when we were talking earlier on. You said, no, you shouldn't do more than 50 minutes. You've done an hour already just talking.
Has it been an hour already?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, an hour of talking.
Mate, it's like, when I look at your face, the world stops. I'm just like,
well, you can say whatever you like, because you are in Australia and not in the UK. One final.
Have you been tested?
Have I what?
Have you been tested?
No, I haven't gone. Have you? No, not yet.
You should. You don't look well. That's why.
And you do.
I look great. I don't need to be tested. You look dehydrated. Yeah. You got a bit of crust on the side.
But interesting enough, I've received an email a text from the NHS, basically saying if you're over 80, you will be lined up for a vaccine. But I know they made a mistake, because I'm not over 80. I'm still, under 60.
So your face, it looks maybe to them.
It looks too much. So
they saw your picture and went, this is a senior citizen. Someone needs to wheelchair this man around.
No way, man. I am still very much alive, kicking, and I'm going to go back and do comedy when live comedy starts again. So, what are your plans for the future? What are you planning to do in the future? And where can people find you, for my listeners?
In terms of plans, we've got 44 shows to execute starting in 2 weeks.
Wow.
So as part of the Perth Fringe World Festival, and we're donating part proceeds from all those ticket sales to an Ethiopian orphanage called Kidana Mehret Children's Home in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa. So we're donating part proceeds from that to there. So we're doing the shows. We're going to organize that, and then toward the end of the year or mid this year, I want to film, while we're just working on dates, I want to film a theater show in front of like 600 people, record it professionally, and try to trick, Netflix or whoever to buying it. So that's the plan this year. And then just, once I do that one, I'm sure another one will roll in. I don't like to, my end plan is, doing arena sellouts and, just on stage talking about my ugly friends and going, President Obonjo is one of my ugliest friends. He's ugly.
You know what's really interesting. You know what's really interesting is because you're now well fed and you're no longer hungry, you can talk rubbish. That's good.
I'm a spoiled brat now.
You're a spoiled brat now.
That
Look,
well-visioned child.
you
He's overstayed his welcome in the Western world. That's what
welcome. Look, Joe, I wish you every success in your career. I hope eventually you will not need plastic surgery as you grow older. But seriously, on a serious note, I really enjoyed talking to you, and we'll see what happens. Who knows what this pandemic, when it's going to be all over, because I certainly want to tour the world. I want to go to lots of places. I'm hoping that that we will get more downloads in Australia. When I look at the number of countries in terms of how many downloads, Australia is at the bottom of the downloads for my podcast. So hopefully involving you is a test to see how popular you are.
Definitely.
And that is not just all ugly social media.
Don't put the pressure on me to get you out there. Like, you've already done all the damage that you could possibly with.
What damage have I done? So anyway, guys,
if you come to Australia, I hope you do. But if you do, get the surgery. Otherwise, they won't let you in the border. We have enough ugly people. We've met our quota already. Don't try to exceed it. Okay.
On that note, I would like to thank all my listeners. We will be producing this as quickly as we can. You were fortunate enough to listen. And for those who will watch it on YouTube, two ugly African comedians. One is a refugee who's now well fed and can talk nonsense for an hour, and myself as a dictator. So I hope you have
ugly dictator.
An ugly dictator. I hope you have enjoyed this. I certainly have. And look out for Joe White. He calls himself the Trevor Noah of Ethiopia or Australia, one of the two. But guys, thank you so much. Stay safe, and thank you so much.
See ya.
Yeah, see ya.